Welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories with your host, Brian Davis. This podcast is the cure for your long commute and super boring workday. Hey there, it's Brian Davis, and for this week's episode, we're going to talk about movies that we wish had never had a sequel. Last week we were positive, we thought we got creative, we thought of movies where this would be a really great sequel. Not so much this week. We're going to talk about sequels that we wish had just never been thought of, or it was just too long in between movies and the magic was gone. So let's start with my first one in no particular order, and that is American Graffiti, which was called More American Graffiti, made 6 years after the classic original. Now, the problem with the sequel is, one, at the end of the original American Graffiti, they kind of give you where everyone ended up, kind of what they did in Animal House as well. So why make a sequel? So you already know what happens to him. Plus, they couldn't even get Richard Dreyfuss. And by this time, those main characters that were kind of unknown at the time or weren't superstars yet. I mean, you had Ron Howard and Cindy Williams. Harrison Ford was in his, film debut. Richard Dreyfuss was very young. It didn't work, in the sequel. And I think they were trying to match that magic, kind of do the 60s version, the mid to late 60s. And it just did not work. Analyze this was terrific. It was well done. And I think because of the success, they said, hey, let's make a sequel. And it just did not pan out. It's very forgettable. I can't even tell you. I actually have a DVD set with both of them. I tried watching the second one. I just turned it off. The Blues Brothers 2000. This is the epitome of waiting way too long. Plus, you don't even have Dan Aykroyd. You do have Dan Aykroyd. You don't have John Belushi. You have James Belushi, which I like James Belushi, but he's not John. And you bring in John Goodman, and then the kiss of death. They brought in a little kid. Forget it. You start to bring in little kids into movies like this. It's awful. The music, great. You can't dispute the music, but as a movie, terrible. It was self-parody. It kind of ruined the legacy. City Slickers 2. So what do? They obviously, the original Curly, and his name is escaping me right now. Jack Palance was in the original. He dies in the original. So what did they do in the second one? Because he's so popular, he turns into his own brother. He plays his brother in that one. It's stupid. Anytime you do that, it's going to be stupid. Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, they should, it was ripe for a sequel because Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, was so good, but 2 just didn't match it. And I don't want to see them, down on their luck and doing poorly, and then they have to come back. It was a flawed script, and they should have just left it as it was. The Hangover. The original Hangover was so good, so original, so funny. The ending was priceless. So what do they do in the second one? The exact same movie. Same thing with the very ending. They do all the photos over again. There's where Hollywood is like, okay, we're officially out of ideas. We have a cash cow. We know people are going to go in and watch this movie. So let's just do the same movie. Well, it kind of kills the legacy of the original. Hot Tub Time Machine. The sequel was not good. They couldn't even get John Cusack for that one. So, yeah, they should have just left it as is. Not that Hot Tub Time Machine, the original, was some work of art, but it would have been fine just to left as is. The Karate Kid, and I'm not even talking about the remake. I'm talking about the sequels, were inferior compared to the original Karate Kid. I get you had to make a sequel because the first one was so good, but the second one it didn't do much for me. Allie, played by Elizabeth Shue, is gone. You don't have the Cobra Kai guys. That's kind of what made the original so good. And then he has a villain, but now he's in Okinawa. Well, okay, whatever. And then the third one, don't even get me started on the third one. That is complete crap. Meatballs. So the original Meatballs was Bill Murray's very first movie. It's a cult classic. It's campy fun. It's typical of those kind of late 70s, early movies, fun movies. And then they made, I think, a second, third, and maybe a fourth Meatballs, which are all forgettable and almost straight to video. I can't even tell you about them. I think I've seen bits and pieces on television a long time ago. All right, the most obvious one is Godfather Part 3. it's not that it's a terrible movie. It's just how do you keep up with the legacy of the first two, which are arguably the two best movies in movie history. So you not only do you create the third one almost, 15 years, 20 years after the original, which is always a bad thing, as I've already established, but you don't even get Robert Duvall in the movie. There was a dispute. Basically, Al Pacino wanted a ton of money, so they had to get Al Pacino. So because of that, they couldn't afford to pay Robert De Niro, to pay Robert Duvall. On top of that, of course, Sofia Coppola often gets mentioned, but whether she was in it or not, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been better with Winona Ryder, as they originally thought, but still, this movie was doomed from the start. Jewel of the Nile. Now, my dad kind of mentioned this in his episode with my parents. Romancing the Stone is a great movie. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a terrific movie. And then the sequel just didn't live up to it. My mom would disagree, but it is definitely the inferior of the two. The Sting 2 with Jackie Gleason. This is where none of the original people are in the movie. It's not even worth seeing. Don't get me started. And lastly, this is a cult classic, the original, which is Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox. I love this as a kid. I still love it. I just watched it not too long ago because they just re-released it on Blu-ray. They did Teen Wolf 2, T-O-O, with Jason Bateman. And so I guess it's his cousin. And instead of being in basketball, he's a boxer. So terrible. Very piss poor. All right, that's all I could come up with. I'm sure we're going to have plenty more people that come up with movies that should not have sequels, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, it's like you never left. Now we're going to do
long time no see.
Exactly. All right, well, we got the illusion gone here, but
sorry.
So we're gonna do movies that we wish had never had a sequel. The week before we had done movies that we wish did have a sequel, but now we're going to get negative and talk about the films that probably should have left the classics as one movie. So what is your list for this one?
Godfather is like the go-to. Godfather 3 is the go-to. Mm-hmm. Like Godfather 2 is awesome. I didn't want to.
No,
that's like the best. That's probably like one of the best sequels.
Agreed. Yeah.
Godfather 3 didn't really need to be made. Like it was interesting in some ways, but I think ultimately that it wasn't just about like Sofia Coppola being a bad actress. No. Like she didn't ruin the movie for me. Like it kind of took me out of the movie, but
sure.
I think overall I felt like it was just kind of formulaic and not really a great reason to come back to that universe.
Right, and the fact they couldn't get
Robert Duvall.
Exactly.
Yeah, that really was. Yeah, it was too bad.
Yeah, and it just Pacino wanted too much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain movies where it's really hard, and I can't think of a sequel where you've waited so much time in between the original where it actually works. I'm trying to think of movies where that actually worked, and I can't. So because I think we'll get to more of your list, but the Blues Brothers is another example where just leave it alone.
Yeah. See, I think I purposely haven't seen Blues Brothers 2000 because I could not imagine, especially. I mean, John Belushi is great, but Jim Belushi,
Yeah, and then John Goodman's great, but he's not.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
And so as good as the music was, I think it's a good soundtrack one, but they should have just left it alone.
Yeah, I agree. That would be another one.
Yeah.
I'm drawing some blanks here because I usually write things down. This is why you should be prepared, people.
That's okay.
Write things down. Well, in some ways, I think it's not so much that I don't think they should have been made, but I think the Star Wars prequels could have been done a lot better. Mm-hmm. And I'm sort of an apologist for them because I will watch them and be entertained by them, but I still think that they fell way short of what they could have been. And there could have been probably someone had. I think there's been a cut where it basically cuts out the young Anakin and merges the other movies together.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit better that way, where they take out the little boy Anakin, and it's because it's just kind of boring.
Right.
And a lot of the Phantom Menace is boring, and the love scenes and Attack of the Clones are boring.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of slowness and pointlessness to it. So I think if you could, there's a story there that works, but it wasn't pulled off.
Right.
So.
There's a great Patton Oswalt comedy bit where he basically talks about the prequels and how he hates George Lucas and how he's like,
a lot of people just
Did you hear Boba Fett's going to be in the new prequel? That's great, but it's going to be him when he's a little kid, and nobody cares. It's like all these great things.
Hey, that kid would grow up to be Boba Fett.
Yeah.
All right, well,
and he's
whatever.
right. It was just like all this. Like, I think they took for granted that Star Wars fans will just like whatever they make.
My geekiness is getting in the way of my nerdiness. I'm starting to notice as I grow older. I had this really sad realization. I was thinking the other day about a time machine. If I had a time machine, you know, because I'm really into history, like would I go back and witness something, or like find out who Jack the Ripper was, or stop the Kennedy assassination? And the first thing I thought of doing, if I actually had a time machine, is I would go back to around 1993 or 94 and kill George Lucas with a shovel. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And stop him from making the prequels. That's how I would try to save history. Fucking pathetic. I mean, I don't even know how I would have reacted if I just run into him on the street, like going, "Oh my God, you're fucking George Lucas, dude." Look, I don't want to bother you and nerd out, but like, Star Wars is one of my favorite movies, and I just want to thank you, man. Just thanks for all that. It's so great. You like Star Wars? I got some good news. I'm working on the 3 prequels, the first 3 chapters. Oh, really? You're going to do finally. Oh my God, that's awesome, dude. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Well, hey, you say you're a Star Wars fan. Do you like Darth Vader? I fucking love Darth Vader, dude. The helmet and the cape with the sword, that's great, man. Is he in the first movie? Yeah, in the first movie, you get to see him as a little kid. Is he like a little Damien Omen kid, like evil and killing people with his mind and shit like that? No, he's just like this little kid, and then he gets taken away from his mom, and he's very sad. I don't really care about him as a little kid at all. I just like the helmet and the sword and the cape. That was kind of cool about him. Well, hey, don't worry, because guess who shows up in the second movie? Boba Fett. There you fucking Boba Fett, yes, with the helmet, and he's a bounty hunter. That is awesome, man. That is so cool. Yeah, and in the second movie, you get to see him as a little kid. Again, I don't really care about him when he was a little kid. I like the ship and the helmet and the killing people. Is he like it? Does he have the little helmet on and he's killing people? Is that what's going on? No, he's like this little kid, and then his dad dies, and he's very sad. Do not give a shit at all about that. Could not care less. Well, don't worry, because in the third movie, you know what shows up? The Death Star. Awesome, man, that fucking... Wait a minute, what is it doing, George? Well, you just see it at the very end of the movie. It's being built, and Darth Vader's just kind of looking at it. Again, I don't care how they built it, how they put in the toilets or the air conditioning. I just like it when it's done and then it's blowing planets up. That's kind of what's cool about it. You look really sad. Dude, I gotta say, I'm pretty fucking sad, man. That sounds awful. That all just sounds like shit. Would you like some ice cream? I would like some ice cream. I like ice cream, man. That'd be cool if I had like a dish of ice cream. Well, here's a big bag of rock salt. You just said I was gonna have a dish of ice cream. Well, when you combine the rock salt with ice and cream and sugar and flavoring, it becomes... I don't give a shit where the stuff I love comes from. I just love the stuff I love. Hey, do you like Angelina Jolie? Does she give you a big boner? Well, here's John Voight's ball sack. That's right. The pink, glistening ball sack she swam out of. Now jerk off to that, you lucky so-and-so.
I mean, and I think George Lucas was trying to make something that was both like a interesting, like, I don't know, like fall from grace drama,
Sure.
and also like wrap in some political themes, especially like the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Comparing that to the rise of the empire.
Sure.
But I think he just miffed. He
Yeah,
whiffed.
he whiffed. He totally whiffed. Yeah.
So I don't know, and maybe
We were miffed.
a lot of people were angry in the process.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, I'm sort of an apologist. I'll watch those movies, but I look at them and kind of like regretfully, like
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity.
So when they're on, you'll watch, but you'll make a point of
not usually unless I'm
seeking it
I'm
out.
purposely watching all the Star Wars
Right.
movies. And like I'll show them all to my kid, but he's not going to see the prequels
Yeah.
first.
No,
I don't want to
he
turn him off to Star Wars.
Exactly. Show
When
him-
he's
show
old
him
enough
the
to actually
classics.
watch them. He's not going to see those.
That'd be like
first.
showing them Godfather 3
Yeah,
first.
it's like, dude, well, here's Godfather. Wait, don't you want to find out what happened in the beginning?
That's
No,
right.
wait.
No. Let's get into what is.
Because I think like a little kid would identify with Phantom Menace more.
Sure.
It was more of a kid's movie than any of the other
Mhm.
Star Wars, even counting Return of the Jedi, which had like the cuddly Ewoks.
Yeah.
But even then,
Mhm.
it was much more of a kid movie.
Yeah, definitely agree. What are the other ones that you came up with?
I mean, half the Star Trek movies are terrible.
So would you have cut off after 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I would have just not made like 5 at all.
Okay.
5 is one of the worst sci-fi movies I've ever seen. It's so bad. And some of the Next Generation ones with Jean-Luc Picard, a couple of those were bad. I can't even. I saw Star Trek 1 or whatever, the original Star Trek when I was a kid, but I couldn't even tell you what it's about because it's been so long and I couldn't remember it liking it. So in that regard, like Star Trek 2 was awesome because there was nothing like this. The first one was just so forgettable that
it was really long and boring.
Yeah, I just remember it being boring. And there was this. They're on the ship and they're not on the ship.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
And then by 2, which most people consider the first, and that's kind of a trilogy.
Yeah, 2, 3, and 4 kind of.
It's so good with Ricardo Montalban and all the crazy like things coming out of his ear.
Yeah, the bugs. Yeah,
yeah,
oh, God. Yeah, and just the battle at the end are great. But yeah, like Star Trek 3 was kind of it had good moments, but it wasn't great. And then I don't think it was like, oh my God, I can't believe they made that. But like Star Trek 5 was like, okay, you guys are just in it for the money.
Exactly.
That's it.
We want
and
to
I
pay
even
it.
let you indulge Shatner by letting him direct the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, please. It was way over the top.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
bad.
But. So, all right, those are all good. If you come up with more, we'll splice them in. Sure. But no, these are all right. You covered the big ones, and that was good.
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
Sure.
Okay, we're back. The illusion is that I've spent, a week not talking to you guys, but really it's been 2 seconds since I last talked to you. So this is okay.
We should have changed our
I know you should have. All right, so last week we talked about movies where you wish a sequel was made. This week we're going to get a negative, and we're going to talk about movies where we wish the sequel had never been made. They just left the original alone. And we can say hindsight's 2020 on this one because the outcome was terrible. So, like for example, one of mine was Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah.
One, you just don't wait that long. 2, if you don't have John Belushi, James Belushi is inferior. And
it's his brother.
It's his brother,
right?
and even John Goodman's in it, who I like, but
I love John Goodman.
they ruin it.
Yeah.
And then they bring in a kid. That's the worst. You can't do that. Okay, so that's the litmus test, stuff like that. So, what do you guys have? We'll start with Lindley on this.
I only have 2 movies, but one. Well, I would not. I loved this movie when it came out, but it probably should never have been made, which is Psycho 2.
Oh yeah, and they
actually
made a 3 and 4 too. I think.
Yeah, they did. It actually starred Anthony Perkins.
Yeah.
I've never seen 3 and 4. I've seen 2. Meg Tilly,
Yeah.
I think, is in it. Is like the granddaughter or somehow the niece of Janet Leigh, who was murdered in Psycho. It's like a really weird premise. He gets he's out of prison. Yeah, he's released from prison and living back in the home.
So it's like 23 years later or something like that. Yeah.
And it's really Anthony Perkins. They got Anthony Perkins. I mean, he wasn't doing much, so that would make sense. But I loved Anthony Perkins, and my teenage self didn't realize he was completely gay. And but I just loved him. And, that's all. So I enjoyed watching it, but they definitely should not have made that movie. Of course not.
And obviously Hitchcock wasn't involved, and that's always
it was so
tricky,
silly and bad. But I would probably watch it again.
Well, check out 3 and 4 then.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so to Stephanie.
Yes. So not to disappoint, because I'm sure you all laugh when you hear this. Dirty Dancing 2, Havana Nights.
Someone mentioned that, I think.
Nothing has made me angrier than that stupid movie. I mean, Dirty Dancing, I get it. They tried to make it into a franchise.
Sure.
This idea that it was just about the dancing. No, it wasn't. It was all about Baby.
Yeah.
Don't leave Baby in the corner. What happened to Baby after the fact? And that was a waste of film. And that's saying something because I like a lot of stuff people don't like, but I couldn't get into that.
Did you get into the Lambada, the forbidden dance back in the 80s?
No, that made me mad too.
Yeah.
So you should listen to the host of Wait, Don't Tell Me. Is his name Peter Siegel. He tells the story of how he's the writer on Havana Nights, Dirty Dancing 2. But the story of how his original script turned into Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights is just completely insane and like such a story. So I think he tells it on This American Life, but just search for Peter Siegel telling his story about how his screenplay, and it's the only thing I think he's ever had successfully made, but it became
Havana Nights.
Havana Nights.
Well, because
Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights,
The bummer
and
is
I forget
just
what the original story was about, but
Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey hated one another's guts.
Right.
There's no way they were ever going to sign up to do the second movie. And America,
she got the nose job.
America fell so in love with that movie. You know, like I think everybody wanted a sequel to be made. But then what they decided to do there just ruined it. And the thing is, they learned nothing from that.
No.
Because then they made that television ridiculous hot mess.
Yeah.
Which, again, just is an insult to the memory of that incredible film. And, don't watch it. Don't ever see it. Boycott it. I hate it.
Okay, let's go to Lindley's other movie.
My other movie was just the Matrix series. I think the original was really clever and interesting. I didn't even love it that much, but I think it's really great. And then you did not need 2 and 3.
I don't even remember. I remember
so
the third.
boring.
I remember laughing in the theater at the third one because she was dying and she says something to him.
It's just really bad. I don't know. They should have stopped with Keanu at 1.
Yeah.
Like that was the perfect role for him. He barely spoke, but it was, fine and
Yeah, some of these I think there was just too. It was so successful.
It was super successful.
You're leaving money on the table not to do it. But
exactly.
But
it was definitely suffered from that. It was obvious that it didn't need a sequel, but
Yeah, I too had The Matrix Reloaded on my list, and the bummer about that film is I loved The Matrix so much, and I had such high expectations going into that film, and I wanted to explore some of those themes. It was just so disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's one thing to sort of generalize, but it's generalized to the point where, well, it could be anything.
Sure.
It just was. It was such a waste of time and so disappointing. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
The other thing for me is Disney does this with a lot of its films. They make. They have these great films like Cinderella, and I guess they just want to make money from it. So there's like a Cinderella 2,
yeah,
3, and there's a Mulan 2,
a Bambi 2,
and they're terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, we watch them because we love these characters, and but I've never understood that because Pixar puts so much energy and effort into their sequels, and for the most part, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Cars 2, not so much. Cars 3, better. But, the Toy Story
all the Toy
2 and 3
all the Toy
were
Stories are great.
incredible. Monsters University was really
that was
great.
Fun. Yeah. I can't wait for the Incredibles sequel.
Yes,
that should be good.
either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what it is. Disney has just done a terrible job with sequels for its sort of original princesses.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And I think a sequel to Aladdin, they did The Return of Jafar, which was just the worst thing. Because everybody wants to know what happens to the genie after he gets out of the bottle. And that could have been, another blockbuster for Disney. That could have been one of the greatest grossing Disney films of all time had they done it right. Maybe they wouldn't have gotten Robin Williams because they were such assholes to him the first time round.
Right.
Because like with Mulan, that was funny because Eddie Murphy was Mushu in the original. And then the same thing happened with Eddie Murphy. It was just like, you paid me nothing. You made all this money off of me. Forget it. I'm not helping you anymore.
That's right.
So maybe they couldn't have. But yeah, it was really, just in general, old princess Disney sequels suck and they should never have been made.
Well, that's a problem with waiting too long. That's what killed The Godfather 3. So Pacino wanted too much money. Robert Duvall wanted to be paid too. And so they said, well, we got to choose between, and they left out Duvall. And then just that movie was a mess. You can't wait that long. And you got to pay the key actors. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So. Yeah.
Back to the Future 3 never should have been made.
I don't mind that one so much. It's my least favorite, but I can still watch it. Yeah,
I can't. I just can't do
But you like the
2
second one?
was good.
I love the
really
second
good.
one. The
Yeah.
second one was
Well, it's
amazing.
especially fun now to watch because it's last 2015. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, the third one not so much for me.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think that's probably my least favorite of the 3.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Actually, this was an easier one for people. It was easier to be negative than it was
about
creative
some
about.
I'm sure there must be. I just don't think I watch a lot of sequels.
Yeah.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't automatically go watch sequels. Yeah.
But your favorite sequel is Wayne's World 2.
I love Wayne's World 2. No,
and Austin Powers, the second one.
The second one. The third
they should have made
terrible.
the third one.
one is awful. That is definitely a sequel that should never have been made.
Yeah.
I loved Guardians of the Galaxy too. I loved Guardians.
I thought arguably that was better than the first one, and the first one's great.
No, I liked the first one a lot.
No, I didn't say.
I liked two. I don't know. I liked them both.
I thought it was equally good. I mean,
it was good. And the ride is really cute. But I was a complete Tower of Terror fan. But Sabine and I rode it at least 5 times each day when we were in snow.
Oh, really?
It was really fun. They have the music and they change the scenes. You know, it's like a different, like depending on what theater you go in, I guess they change the story a bunch of times. So we were trying to get like all the stories.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was very cute and fun.
Mm-hmm.
But with Guardians of the Galaxy, there again is the point. Like, if we missed it in the movie theater, the second one.
Yeah.
So now we can watch it on demand at home. But again, we're at home.
Yeah.
So getting the family to agree to sit down and actually watch that movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy, your kids wouldn't want to watch it. We get tickets on opening night to go see Guardians of the Galaxy.
They were just like, I don't know, whatever, we'll see. It's just,
oh my God, my
so
kids
annoying.
love that movie.
Yeah.
We got the soundtracks. We listened to them in the car rides.
I know.
We are big fans of that franchise.
All right. That's all good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back with Malin, and this week we're going to talk about our sequels that we wish had never been made. We're going to get negative on this one. So I think this has been an easier subject for most people, so we'll see what Malin has to say on this one.
Oh, really? Have people been bashing sequels?
Yes, I think it's, it's easier, the hindsight's 2020, it's easier when things are already out as opposed to being creative and talking about movies we wish had been made. So this way we can talk about the existing crap that was made.
Yeah. Well, I've got a really short list for this one, actually. So my answer is just everything.
But you got to give us something. Come on.
Okay, so movies I wish didn't have a sequel. American Werewolf in London. I just adore that film, and I was really excited going in to see American Werewolf in Paris, not only because my love for the original film, but I also loved Julie Delpy. And I'd seen a bunch of things before that, mostly French films.
Yeah.
And I think that was supposed to be her transition over into the Hollywood. Or maybe she had tried before that. I don't remember. And that movie is just absolute shit.
How long was it made? How long was it made after the first one?
I don't know.
Okay.
It had been a while. It had been long enough that I'd grown up with the original, and I think I saw American Werewolf in Paris when I was an undergrad in Santa Cruz. So
wow, it came out.
It might have been in the 90s.
Yeah, 97. So I mean, that's 16 years after the original. So
yeah, and it just had an American Werewolf in Paris. It made sense to me. I was like, okay, fine, I could go into that. It's like, how could they mess this up? They're going to go into another capital city and get to see, Paris.
And they screwed it up.
He did absolutely everything wrong. I couldn't believe how far off the mark they went. They just completely disregarded the practical special effects that were so fantastic in the first film, and they went CGI, but they went bad CGI.
Yeah.
Special effects were painful to watch. They erred on the side of too much backstory, too much showing the monster. All of these lessons that sequels and horror franchises really don't seem to understand is that the standalone horror vehicle, it gains so much from leaving an air of mystery, both in terms of ambiguous, disturbing endings and not letting you see too much about the backstory or even the creature visuals. It leaves something to the imagination. And these sequels, they too often go in and they feel like they have to fill in holes that were left by the original feature in order to make the film more unsettling and therefore more successful. So American Werewolf in Paris totally goes down that rabbit hole in a bad way.
Yeah, that's a great pick because I forgot that was even made. So
yeah, it shouldn't have been made.
No.
Yeah. I wish I could forget.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the other thing it did really badly, I've only seen it once, and it was in '97, and I've never gotten over the grudge. But I think that with one thing I didn't like was that they didn't really showcase Paris very much. A lot of it happened indoors in residential areas in a kind of a remote club. I don't remember the city being used as a character, even though it's in the title of the film. It felt very incidental to me, which is, for me, that's a crime. Yeah, I don't know. I could probably go on, but again, it's something that I've been since '97.
Yeah,
I should probably talk about something.
I wonder if they. I bet you they didn't film most of it in Paris, so that's why they didn't.
That's very, very possible. I haven't looked into this, but I would not be surprised if they filmed it possibly in Europe. And I know in the '90s and the early aughts, filming in Eastern Europe as a substitute for Western Europe locations was really popular because of the pay rates were so much lower there, and they could build sets much cheaper and recreate things rather than shooting on location. So that may very well have been the case.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, don't go see American Werewolf in Paris.
Okay.
Let us promise never to speak of it again.
Done.
So another film where the sequels fell into some of the traps that I just mentioned is Jaws.
Oh yeah.
The first film was fantastic, and everything that came after that. The second arguably has some a good deal of suspense, but for the most part, I think we're all better off without it. I don't think it really gave us anything that we needed. And number 3 is one of the worst fucking films ever. And the fourth one is just desperate.
Well, the fourth one, by the fourth one, they killed off Roy Scheider, and it was just his wife and his son. And then the third one was supposed to be in 3D with Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the third one was just a mess. The fourth one, I think the fourth one had a potentially interesting premise following Lorraine Gary's character, the original sheriff's wife.
Yes.
And following her story. But unfortunately, they couldn't come up with an interesting story.
Yeah.
And they tried to make her a strong character, and I really wanted to see her as a strong character, but there was so much going on with that film that was just a disastrous mess that you couldn't really focus on her too much, and what she could have brought to the film was just diluted by the rest of the crap. This is really unfortunate.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
But number 3 had absolutely nothing going for it except one idea after the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got one of those typical 3D cheese where they're definitely doing certain scenes just for 3D. Like it didn't help the plot at all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just a 3D carnival ride. But
that's what you get from a 3D movie in 19... Yeah. Okay, what are the other ones you have?
Oh, sure. Okay, so Star Wars, I feel, those original 3 films, even if George Lucas had originally conceived of a grander, more kind of operatic arc, both before and after those films, I don't think the prequels, I know this is cheating a little bit, but technically they came after, so they're sequels, and I do wish, I feel that probably a lot of people would be happy to kind of see those movies erased. They're just, again, they don't really give us much of anything that we needed. I mean, arguably, I guess there are a few tense moments in the third of those prequels that we needed and wanted, but they're executed so poorly and so cheesily. I'd be happier without them.
No, I agree. Definitely.
Okay, so enough said about that, because I know I've bitched about those before. The Hobbit. I think that movie should have just been one film. It's too bad that Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
It's too bad that Peter Jackson wasn't able to find his way back to a more fairy tale kind of charming and romantic child's story, to be a bit more honest with the original. But he'd already done Lord of the Rings, and honestly, I think he kind of painted himself into a corner there. But they divided it up into 3 films. That was outrageous. Like, that's all on them. Changing the tone, that would have been a challenge. They'd already established a tone that they'd have a really hard time, like, walking away from. So I can see where they were in a pickle on that. But dividing up that story into 3 films, that's on their head. That was crazy. That was really unfortunate. We totally didn't need that.
Yeah, especially for a book that's not that long either. So.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's a one film kind of book. I think.
Definitely.
One more, Silence of the Lambs. I know that kind of developed a franchise after it, but and they followed the books. They followed the book into Hannibal, and then they went back and they did the prequel.
Yeah.
For Red Dragon, but I don't think they added anything again. And Hannibal, when I think the casting became a dispute, maybe they should have. I think that was the time to know it was a good time to walk away.
Yeah, I think losing Jodie Foster really hurt them. Nothing against Julianne Moore, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against Julianne Moore, and her performance as a standalone performance, if you don't compare it to Jodie Foster's, is fine. It's fantastic. It really makes me look at the character in a very different way, but it's that character at a very different point in her professional career as well. So she's a bit more hardcore, she's a bit more jaded, she's a lot more professional and streamlined. That's all fine, and Julianne Moore does that well. But I think we lose the transition of Jodie Foster's adaptation and her representation of the role. And seeing her embody that with all of those changes would have been interesting. But it's not just the casting change that is a problem for me. I think also the book as it was written has a very different ending. It has a much darker ending that doesn't suit itself very well towards a Hollywood audience, not by any stretch of the imagination. And so the ending that's in the film now is such a predictably formulaic Hollywood ending. I was just groaning and sighing from the weight of the predictably formulaic rollout of how that kind of ended. I mean, it did have that really charming scene on the plane at the end with Hannibal Lecter offering part of his lunch on a plane to a kid.
Right.
I thought, well, now we're getting back to a little bit more of the tone of the series, because we do have to acknowledge that these are, that he is an absolutely despicable character.
Oh, yeah.
And him just having that super creepy kind of romantic ending with Agent Starling at the end, it just doesn't fit what's come before it, unless really all you're looking for is that kind of resolution of their characters. And that doesn't come from this storyline. It comes from so many other storylines, and it just feels so kind of tacked on and cheesy.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It mars Silence of the Lambs for me a little bit.
It does. It kind of tarnishes the reputation of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. Those are my biggest gripes. I could go on, but those are my biggest.
Those are great. Well, again, thank you so much, Malin.
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay, we're back with Danielle. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You've tried to keep it in, and you can't. It's just it's not natural
as much.
So for this week's episode, last week we did movies where you wish you had a sequel, and then this week we're going to get negative, and we're going to say they should have just left the movie as is. They shouldn't have created sequel or sequels.
Yes.
Okay.
Most
of them, yeah. Okay, so what are your picks? You have 6. You said no half points this time.
No. So the number 6 is
Number 6.
I can't count. So it is Sex and the City 2.
Oh, really?
Stupid. Oh my god. One was fun.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
And did you like the TV show?
No, I never watched
Really?
it. I think I watched once.
So you liked the movie, but you didn't like the TV show?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't. It was like too girly, too like, I don't know. Out of my reality, I'm not that.
You're not into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the second one I went to watch, and it was disappointed. They didn't have anything else to do or say, and it was not as funny as was the first one, and it was goofy, and it was a waste of my time to be honest. But okay, I mean, I went to the movie theater, I believe so, to watch it. It is fun, but they didn't have it to.
It's a girls' night out movie.
Pushing it. Yeah, it was pushing it. So
okay,
that's
a good one.
Okay, so the next one, you're gonna laugh.
Wait, no, you're gonna laugh.
Of course, it's Home Alone 3.
Okay.
3 Beyond. I think they have more, right?
Actually, I agree with you. So the first two, actually, I like the second one. Because the second one, they're in New York. Yeah. And then Macaulay Culkin's not even in the third. I think they had a lot of straight-to-DVD ones.
I think that's the reason I didn't like the third one as much. Yeah. Because he's not there. He's not in the movie.
Who's even in the movie that was in the other ones?
Another little boy. I don't know. I didn't watch.
What about the family?
I didn't watch.
Okay, you're just like...
I watched it, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. But I don't think they should continue the same title when the main character is not there anymore, because everybody went to see the cute little boy. He was like the star.
Well, not only that, but Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, the two bandits.
Yes,
they're kind of the stars.
Yeah. So I don't think they. You know, it was too pushy. I don't think they should have that.
Yeah. But the second one was good. I actually
liked the second one was cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right. That's a good one.
Well, the second one... Okay, I have a little...
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
But I was expecting the pranks. So that was kind of not new anymore.
The only difference was they're in New York. They brought in the bird lady. They did... The hotel was kind of fun, but it was essentially the same movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's fair.
Yay. I'm not alone on that. I'm not home alone.
You're cracking yourself up.
Oh, what's going wrong with me today? I'm tired. So the next one I need to learn how to cook. It's that's my specialty. Specialty is the Book of Shadow. I don't know, Shadow. Blair Witch 2.
Okay.
So I watched the first one. It was from all the horror movies that I watched. I'm not kidding. I watched like a lot.
So the original Blair Witch from the late 90s.
Freaked me out.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep for a while because I think it was the first movie that I watched in first person, like the actor is holding the camera, and you cannot see a thing. No. You just hear the kids laughing, just hear they screaming, and where is it? And so the whole movie, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna jump right now, and that never happens. Mm-hmm. So I was super scared, to be honest. And the movie ends on that scene, and I was like, oh my god, what happened there? When they released the second one, I was like, there you go, I'm gonna learn what happened. Okay, they explain everything was a fraud, never happened, but then they go to a house, this group go to a house, and it's just so idiotic, so I didn't like it. They should have.
I didn't even see the sequel.
And there's the third one who is worse. So
and then they remade it, right?
They did a third one.
But didn't they remake it as a whole?
No, it's the project something. It's
it's just another.
It's just a new. It's just a sequel.
Okay, it's not a reboot.
Yeah, it's just like the first one was really good. It was a new thing, like the camera, all that. Mm-hmm. And then the second was too much. The third shouldn't have happened. Yeah.
Those are good. All right. What are the next ones?
So the next one is, oh my God, don't get me wrong, but Basic Instinct 2.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. I should have put that on the
list. Why? What's the point? So Basic Instinct, how do you say
Basic Instinct.
Yes, thank you. Everybody watched it just to see Sharon Stone naked. That's the deal. Even me. I was like, okay, let's see that. Mm-hmm. And it was great. I mean, she was very hot. Mm-hmm. The story is like same old, but it was like a good thriller.
Exactly.
It's a good thriller, but it was very famous just because she was naked.
That's right.
She didn't wear the underwear.
During the interrogation
and I was like going forward so many times to see because I couldn't see.
Are you sure you're not a man?
I was curious, like, what are they talking about?
Well, now with Blu-ray and high definition, it does really well.
Oh, God. Yeah. So the second one, I didn't watch. I didn't waste my time on that. But I heard people talking about.
Well, there was another one where they waited too long. It was 15 years after the original or something like that. So you can't do that.
Yeah, and she didn't have the appeal that she had before.
And Michael Douglas wasn't in it.
She played, it wasn't good.
No.
She didn't have, I'm not saying, of course she got older. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about she was not as good as she was in the first one.
Yeah.
So that's my complaint.
Yeah, I agree with you. I should have had that on my list. This is why I interview people.
So,
next.
The second one is...
Second to last one.
No.
Oh, we're going in reverse order. Number 2.
I don't know.
Okay.
So the second one.
Okay.
Let's do it like that. Oh, yeah, not the second one. How do you say in English? The second to the last? How do you...
Number 2.
The second that I like, yeah, we got it. You understand?
We won't do a sequel of this interview.
Added so much. So it is. I still know what you did last summer. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God! They never ended that. There is more than one. I guess.
Horror movies are definitely the sequel.
It's the stupidest thing I ever saw. It
Did you even like the first one?
The first, no, but they did a second.
Well, if it makes money, they're gonna keep making it.
How it makes money? You need to be I was a teen, I guess, when the first one came out, and I didn't like it, and I'm into horror and the stuff, and I was like, okay, come on, it's just. And then they did the second, and I think there's more.
They kept going,
It's nonstop, so that was a waste.
Yeah. Number 1.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I wish I had my 2 hours of my life back that I wasted watching.
Okay, for this movie?
First one.
Okay.
So, 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay. I was gonna mention that when you were talking about Sex and the City, because that's a total
oh my God.
Girls' night out thing.
That is, that was terrible.
But you didn't even like the first one.
No, I'm talking about the first one.
And then
and the sequel.
You're talking about the whole series.
Yes.
So are you going to get dragged to the third one when it comes out?
So I'm gonna drag it to that. So
okay.
The book, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that wrote the book, no one would expect that she would write something like that, right? So what's going on in her mind and stuff? Because she was like a regular housewife.
Yeah, she was writing Twilight fan fiction.
So that was cool. Like the book, I didn't read the book at all, but I had some friends like, "Oh my God, that's addicted! I can't stop reading it." Okay, I didn't even waste my time. It's not my kind of book.
Sure.
So okay, let's go to the movie. That's kind of the thing that you prefer watching the movie than reading the book, right?
Maybe.
So you go.
Yeah.
So I went there with my friends. They were drunk.
Yeah.
Part of it all. So we got late we got too late on the movie theater, and everybody was watching.
So you're in the front row.
So in the first row. So we're like.
I can see all the action.
I'm on the dentist.
See, it's too bad you weren't in the first row for Basic Instinct. Then you could have really seen.
So it was a mess. It was terrible. I was laughing at my friends because they're drunk.
Oh,
so
sure.
They make jokes. It was terrible. The actors had no chemistry. Oh, okay, a mess.
Yeah.
And they do a second one.
Well, they have to. It's already.
No, they don't.
They've already signed up to do the trilogy.
Yeah, why? It's a waste of money. They didn't make money, the second one.
Oh, they made money.
Oh, well, not how they were expecting.
Yeah.
So, because everybody was like, they knew,
yeah.
It was terrible.
But at this point, they have to do the third one.
The actors were like really bad.
Yeah. Well, who would you have had to play the lead characters if you had your choice?
No one.
No one?
Just
What, Ghost?
I don't know who, but not them. They don't have a chemistry.
Right.
With, the couple, they don't have a chemistry, so they lack that. So it's not interesting. It doesn't matter she's naked and he's naked. Right. There's sexy scenes. It's just like terrible looking at.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
So there are better sex scenes in Basic Instinct, you're saying?
There you go.
Yeah.
There is. So this is my like
That's
the
a
worst.
number one.
Yes.
Should have never made it.
No.
All right. I don't know who we're going to top this one. So, thank you, Danielle. Okay, we're back with Samantha. So last week we did sequels that we wish had happened. You're laughing because the illusion's gone. We're actually just recording these back to back, but the listening audience doesn't know.
I wish
that.
it was a week later.
I know. But anyway, they listened to this last week and they said, "Oh, well, look at all these sequels that should have been made." Well, this week we're going to get negative. And we're going to talk about sequels that we wish had never been made. So, what do you think? What sequels would you have left on the cutting room floor?
All right. So I think I briefly mentioned a kind of like a nostalgia sequel thing about how like some movies are coming back like 10 years later, 15 years later with sequels, and one that I was excited for and then was I don't want to say I hated it, but I think it would be left fine alone was Anchorman Part 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I loved Will Ferrell movies, and when I heard that they were going to be doing a sequel to Anchorman, I was very excited, because I just loved all the characters in that, and so, I watched it when it came out. I thought it was really funny, but it was like just trying too hard.
It was too long, too.
It was really long.
Yeah.
Like, there was the whole part where he ended up living in, like, a lighthouse for
lost
a while.
his vision.
Yeah, the vision thing, that's why. He was, like, all depressed. And then there was, like, the random, like, another anchor battle with, like, way more people. And, like, that was a funny scene in the first movie, but did they need to do it again?
It was kind of the pitfall of Hangover 2, where they almost basically copied the first one, and it was just kind of lost on that. So.
Yeah, and it's, like, fun because it's a movie that I've seen the first one, like, millions of times, and it's kind of fun to see it, like, again.
Yeah.
But it's like I haven't gone back and rewatched the sequel. It was fine. I had a few good laughs, but I honestly can't even really remember the plot. I just I
can't either. They're in the 80s instead of the 70s.
Yeah, it's a bit later, so that was kind of funny. The new
the one thing I took from it was Kristen Wiig. That joke was kind of funny, where Brick got a girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny.
So Brick was my favorite character. So, and I really like Kristen Wiig. She's hilarious.
Yeah. That was a great part about the first one was, Steve Carell really wasn't big yet.
No.
And that was kind of his one breakout roles. Yeah.
I love Lamp.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So it's just, I didn't really like how they kind of pitted him and, like, Christina Applegate against each other again. Right? Because, like, they went to, like, the bigger network and stuff. And it was just...
But you would have been fine with just leave the classic alone and why go back to it?
Yeah, the classic. But it was funny. I think it probably made a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I remember going to see it in the theater. I was excited by it. It was the same as you. I was like, and then kind of a little bit underwhelmed. So. Okay, so what are the other ones that you wish had never been made?
So the other one that it came out much closer to the original was Legally Blonde 2.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I ever saw the second one.
I forgot about that.
Wow, yeah.
Because I saw they both, I think the sequel, I'm going to have to look this up again. I don't prepare for these things.
Don't tell the listening audience that. Sometimes you do.
So Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. It came out in 2003, and I think the first one came out in 2000.
Okay.
Or just 2001. So it was really
Couple
just
years.
2 years apart. And this is one where I saw it, like, right when around the time, like, they both came out.
Yeah.
Close together. But it just was another one. It didn't need a sequel. The first movie was great.
Yeah.
Like, she got to law school. She got her degree.
Yeah.
Everything worked out. And then this one is just, like, she goes to Washington.
Yeah.
And then I think I was just I haven't seen this movie in years.
Yeah.
But I was reading the storyline, and it's about, like, animal rights. And then I think, like, there's, like, gay dogs or something.
Oh, God.
And it's just really silly.
This actually reminds me of, did you ever see Miss Congeniality?
Yeah.
I don't know why they made a second one for that. It's
Did
almost
they make a
I think it was called, like, Armed and Fabulous. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So similar. I don't know why they kind of wrapped the first one up in a bow. I don't know why a second one was needed. So
Yeah, and it was just Legally Blonde. Like the first one, it's not like a critically
amazing
movie, but
it's fun.
It was a fun movie. It was done well, silly like romantic comedy, and but yeah, the second one was just unnecessary, and it was just really stupid.
All right, those two
Reese
are
Witherspoon. Bad decision.
Oh, Reese. So those are two really good ones. What are the other ones you have?
I think that's it. Unless you can inspire me to think of anything.
Well, that's good. You came up with two, just like having a sequel, so that's good.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, good job.
Yeah, like I was saying in the other one, I don't really watch a lot of movies that like sequel-based movies. So, and when sequels come out that look stupid, I just don't watch them.
Right.
Like I never saw Dumb and Dumber, the most recent one.
I didn't either.
Like that just looked like trash.
That's a great one. I'm glad you brought that one up. That should have never. I don't know why they went back to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Good.
I avoid them because I cherish my time.
And then, do you also avoid the eventual TV spin-offs of certain classic movies?
Like, have there been any recently?
Well, there's Teen Wolf.
Yeah, I never got into
and
that.
that never appealed to me. I'm trying to think. There probably are other ones. Teen Wolf is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with the Michael J. Fox one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stuff like
I
that.
have to look into those. But like we were talking about with Heathers.
Yeah, exactly.
How that didn't have a sequel, and then it's apparently coming out in a TV show. And
Right.
I don't really think I'm going to watch that. I might check it out of curiosity.
Yeah.
But
cool. Well, all right. Thank you for the two you had. All right, we're back with Enrica. Last week we did a sequel, so I tried to keep a straight face. We record these like one after another, but the illusion's gone.
We just discussed, very passionately, some films that we really think should have had some sequels.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now we're going to turn the tables.
And you're probably going to save me on this one. If I have another coughing fit, you're just going to take over the podcast.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Brian has a little bit of a cough.
Yes.
And I feel very bad.
Yeah, as she's slowly leaning away from the mic.
I can't get sick of getting married in like 10 days.
Oh my God.
It's going to be your fault.
It will be, and it's all documented too, so I have no choice. All right, so this week we're going to talk about movies that you wish had never had a sequel. And so I'm curious to see which ones you wish that were never made.
I have a lot of these because
I think this is an easier one.
Yeah, I definitely am sensitive to sequels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind them. I really like watching them. Like I said last week / 10 minutes ago that I really think that it can go so well if it's like a really great cast and they're funny. Like I could watch a million Avengers movies because the cast is so funny and the writing is fresh and good and like it's the same team working on them. But it's when they like go off on a totally different tangent with a totally different cast and they have different writers and it like goes straight to TV. It's like it's just a disaster. Like why even bother?
Yeah.
So the very first one is Mean Girls.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Did you know there was a Mean Girls too?
Was that the straight to video one?
It went straight to DVD.
Okay.
It was like obviously nobody from the original cast. Tina Fey obviously had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I watched it was because I went to Carnegie Mellon University, and there's like a big plot point in the movie that like the girl in the main character really wants to go to Carnegie Mellon University and study architecture, and I really feel like my alma mater, like CMU, had a big role in the sequel because it's like definitely like a giant CMU marketing campaign.
It may have.
I know. So it's just so funny, but it's so bad. Like it's what makes it funny is not the plot, obviously. No. I mean, it's the writing, it's the characters, and Tina Fey's, magic touch. So why would you bother? Mm-hmm. I don't know, as a writer, as a producer, why you would be like, even try.
Yeah.
If you cared at all about the integrity of your work, why you would even try. Like, it's just so obviously like a money grab. Yeah. It's sad. It's like... It's
amazing. And Samantha and I were talking about this. We should do our favorite straight-to-video movies. Because there's so many of them. Like, there were American Pies that were unofficial American Pies and things like that. Yeah.
Totally. And it's just, I don't know, it loses... You lose respect as a working, filmmaker, producer, I think, if you do something like that. Mm-hmm. So in a way, it's like a career kiss of death.
It is, yeah. It's there's the movie business side of it,
Yeah, but it's like so dumb. I don't know. I feel bad for whoever made that.
That's a good one. It's a good. Mean Girls 2.
Mean Girls 2. And then Taken 2.
Oh, that's right. That's an official one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was official. And, that's kind of weird. They had Liam Neeson.
Like, really, they're going to get taken again?
Just the idea is so preposterous that, like, I understand they were trying to ride the success of the first Taken, which was a really good movie, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
But, like, they didn't design it for a second one.
No.
So, you really... And then the fact that Nick Cage did Stolen.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Like, the same year that Taken 2 was made.
Yeah.
It was just like, come on, guys.
Copycat movies, yeah.
Come on, guys. Like, this is... How many times can, like, a white guy try and save his daughter and we'll go pay money to see it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so dumb. So, Taken 2. Absolutely.
Do not see. Yes.
I hate it. And then the third one is Grease. This one's controversial. Yeah, a lot of people like Grease 2.
A lot of people do, yeah.
And I didn't like it because I also have a lot of problems with Grease 1.
Mm-hmm. So what are your problems with Grease 1?
I don't know if I talked about this on our musical
I don't think you have.
podcast, but Grease, like the original Broadway musical, is one of my favorite musicals because it really was supposed to be capturing the essence of the teen rebellion and like female empowerment and female sexuality was kind of being discovered, and the push and pull between kind of how a woman's supposed to behave and then like how she feels she should behave. It was really monumental, Rizzo's whole plot line and even Sandy's plot line where she doesn't want to be so prude. I mean, it's forced on her in many ways. And in the original show, it's made very clear that these teens are dealing with some really serious, like, issues in terms of, class and race and sexuality. And, like, it's a really good snapshot of, like, the 50s and the huge social change that happened among teens. Like, the baby boomer teens kind of changed the game for teens in general. So it was really the beginning of that.
Yeah.
And it launched the 60s and the entire, social movements of the 60s.
Yep.
So I was really disappointed when they made it in the 80s.
Yeah, it was like 82, I think.
When, sexual politics were really kind of re-evangelizing. The 80s were like the rebirth of like the 50s in many ways. The sexual politics really turned on their heads. There was this huge right-wing movement to like take away a lot of women's rights, and I mean,
the PMRC too.
Yeah, and I mean, just the political climate really was not appropriate for the original spirit of Grease, and the 80s really turned it into like, this prude little girl does anything to get her man. You know what I mean? And
the irony of all this is the 60s hippies became the 80s yuppies. A lot of them did. So it's all the same people.
It's really weird. That's a really good point. So I had a lot of problems with the movie, and Danny Zuko's character of John Travolta did a great job, but it was a caricature. It was a caricature of the original character who's a lot more deep and complex.
Right.
So I had trouble with Grease 1, and as a result, had trouble with Grease 2.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think as a movie it was bad. It was just that they, instead of like trying to take back Grease, which they could have done. They just like went off the original success of like the 80s version, which was that like boy-girl hetero, like girl will do anything to get her man kind of slut-shaming that was not necessarily what the original was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be about the opposite. So it was really interesting.
But again, this always comes back to what's going to make money, and they just basically want to capitalize on the success of what worked for Grease 1.
Yeah, and it's disappointing because I think today, especially, like if you were to remake Grease, which they did actually, they redid it for
like a TV live action.
As a live action musical. You can, because today's audiences in my generation specifically is so attuned to like sexual politics and wanting to be fairly representing, genders and races and everything. You could really get successful if you remade Grease for today's audiences, for today's young people who are very much like responding to the Bush era and the 2000s and a lot of the same sexual politics that It seems to go back and forth every decade, but this decade would be specifically powerful, I think, with the success of shows like The Handmaid's Tale and things like that. Yeah. Remaking those stories right now is really important. And I think that there's an opportunity for filmmakers to do sequels right now that, if you were to remake Grease now, that would be really cool.
Right.
Or make a Grease 2 now, that would be cool. But, of course... Yeah. The world is horrible, and I always choose to bring that up.
No, but a lot of what movies now, I mean, we're running out of original ideas, which is sad because there's so many other, especially with books. I mean, you could adapt things if they wanted to. But
I don't even think that. I think there's so many good artists with original ideas.
Yeah.
I just think that what's worked for the film industry in the past isn't working with audiences anymore.
Well, yeah, and part of it has nothing to do with them either. It's
it's just society changing.
Who wants to go to the movies anymore when you can get everything
on the internet?
TV?
It's streaming services. Yep. It's just the political climate. Society kind of not having an expectation for who's represented on screen and what good characters look like, but bad characters look like. The anti-hero is a big thing right now. It's just like...
Well, there's so much out there. I mean, you could have exactly what you're talking about on a TV show or a web series or a podcast. And it's like, well, do we need to do it for a movie? And sometimes they don't.
There's more content than ever. And it just feels like studios aren't adapting.
No.
They're not willing to, or because the people who operate in these studios are old white guys. I mean, let's be real. They're the industry that they know is, the industry of yore, so to speak.
Well, Hollywood's always been a boys' club, and it's always been an old school club, even from the beginning.
Right, and there's definitely, the audiences always were down with that, and I think that's now changing because the internet has allowed for little artists and diversity to be pervasive. And I don't know. It gets annoying every time the Academy Awards come around. The conversation is reintroduced and it's getting louder of what are these movies we're awarding? Oscars so white. Where are the women? Literally no movies that got nominated for Best Actress were on the Best Picture list.
Right.
So clearly women who are delivering amazing performances are not in movies that are considered the best movies.
Right.
It's the ideology is so blatant, and I think it's becoming more and more blatant, and it's frustrating to see movies get remade over and over, and sequels keep coming out, and they're not adjusting, they're not adapting.
Right.
It's it's gonna be a kiss of death eventually.
Yeah.
Do you think, right? As these old white dudes die off, and I mean.
Well, then their offspring will take over.
I mean, there's new racists and sexists.
Well, especially what's nice about the podcast is someone like me and you can put something out there that people can hear.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's cool in a way.
Yeah, I had one more to lighten the
Absolutely. Where are you going to go from there?
Step up to the streets. That's where I'm going.
Okay. How can you possibly politicize Step Up 2? Let's see. Okay.
Step Up 2, the streets. I really liked Step Up 1.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest, and I can politicize it. Tell you why I liked it.
Okay. You don't have to, but...
It confronted issues of race and socioeconomic class, and this white boy who's, from the hood isn't really accepted in the black community because he's white, and he's not really accepted in the poor white community because he's really into hip-hop and dance. And, he finds this home in this dance school and falls in love with this woman and then whatever. He's a talented dancer. I like Step Up 1. Really cute.
Is Channing Tatum in that?
Channing Tatum, Jenna Dewan. They get married. The chemistry's great. They made so many effing step-ups.
I know. Didn't they do a Step Up 3D?
They did.
Yeah.
I think there's a Step Up 4 even. And I knew when I heard the title Step Up 2, The Streets, where they tried to pun it a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't.
That's almost
Step Up 1 was good.
Yeah.
Leave it. The frivolity, the youth, the joy, it was great.
That's like when they had many Bring It Ons. I think they went straight to DVD.
Yeah, that was bad too. Yeah. I should put that on there. Bring It On 1 was great. It was
fun.
The Mean Girls of the 90s.
It was. It was well done.
And they had to, of course, F that up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, going back to Step Up, there was, you're too young for this, but Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric
Boogaloo.
I
remember these. Yeah, I love dance movies.
They recorded, or they filmed them at the same time. They came out in the same year, so I think you've got they're almost like one movie. But there's too much breaking going on there. So but, yes, as always, great job.
Thanks.
Congratulations on getting married.
Thank you. Hopefully, I'm healthy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guilt trip the shit out of you.
It's all on tape. Thanks again, Enrique.
You're welcome.